Both in. Let's ride.
Russ.
Both in. Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Both in. Let's ride. Both in. Let's ride. Mic'd up. Let's ride. Hella smooth though. Let's ride.
Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. That's my guy.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast. My name is Steven, and I am the host. We are back after not having a show on Sunday night, as we were in attendance, and Tyler was unable to make anything happen that day. So we'll do our best to have a lot of post-game reactions, dive into the film review. Should be a ton of fun. Tyler appropriately starting with the Keenan Allen introduction there. Tyler, how are we doing tonight? Thoughts on Keenan Allen breaking the record and just general thoughts there?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Keenan Allen breaking the record was great. We were hoping for a screen or anything, and I guess we can start with this. What a player, what a career so far, and they have a long way to go. I tweeted last year, well, now Keenan Allen's not going to get a chance to break that record. Well, he got a chance to break that record, and he did, and I'm glad that it was on. I think everyone knew it had to happen last night or 2 nights ago. It had to happen in front of fans. It had to happen on their own home turf. And I'm glad it did. An astounding, incredible career so far. More records to come, I think. I think every time I'm in attendance, it's Keenan Allen or Justin Herbert breaks some sort of record, either for pace or for, overall numbers and stuff. So it's awesome to see. Overall thoughts on the win. I mean, we knew it was an important AFC matchup kind of a game. And we thought we got there in the end of our preview show that the Chargers would win this one. But man, I didn't expect to see that we saw. And I'm excited to talk about how they got there.
Yeah, I think there are certain parts of the game that we did kind of expect, and we can definitely talk about like the physical nature to this game. But with Keenan Allen, man, like we were nervous in the second half that it was not going to be the game that he was going to get it. So obviously, Herbert tried to connect with him early in the first quarter and the third down, almost threw another interception in doing so. So teams have really started to key in on the Keenan Allen third down experience. So that is definitely something to keep an eye on. See that on tape as well, going forward. And then he has one catch on third down. I want to say like late in the second quarter. And then the third quarter was like a lot of was a lot of running. And we're sitting there like, okay, like when is this going to happen? Yeah. And then the Chargers, like the game kind of gets out of hand, the Kamani Vidal touchdown at the end, after the big Ladd McConkey play, and then the Steelers muff the punt. And we're like, are you serious? Like, we're really going to come to this game with him needing 2 catches and it just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And they just kept on getting chances, and the Steelers kept on, giving them the football back. And I'm like, okay, when is this happening? And then it's just a little pop pass. So people online were saying it was like a dishonorable way for him to break the record. I don't give a shit, man. I got to see Keenan Allen break the record in person, like whatever it takes. It's not like he wasn't involved in the game. So
yeah,
it was a cool moment at that point in the game. The bulk of the Steelers fans had left. There were a few, a few thousand that stuck around for the whole game. But this is, it was majority Chargers fans, and there were actually some Chargers fans that left early, which like, why? I don't understand that. But at that point it was like, probably 30, the 30% of the Chargers fans that were in the stadium, were the bulk of them were still there. And so it was a really cool moment. The offense mobbed him, the defense mobbed him. I don't think anybody was happier for Keenan Allen in that moment than Derwin James was. Derwin was, screaming at people, jumping on people, crowning Keenan. It was great to see. I'm very grateful that I got to see it in person, especially after sweating it for the bulk of the second half that it was not going to happen. So big shout out to Keenan Allen. It was a great moment for sure.
Yeah, I love Keenan, and he comes right back and fits in with everyone, not just on the field, but off the field, or even just the camaraderie of it all. And I don't know if he before would always talk about his bald head, but baldhead.com.
I don't know what that is, dude.
It's been
The
his
team's
thing.
obsessed with it.
He's obsessed with it. He keeps bringing it up. So whatever, totally fine. It's working for him. And I just think just being that veteran, just knowing he is the old guy is kind of fun. There's an unk embraced mentality with the Chargers as well. Even though there's a total youth movement happening, everyone loves all the different unks on the team. So Keenan Allen, the fantastic moment. And I'm just happy for you that you got to be at a game. We'll continue with our overall thoughts on this. You got to be at a game where they won. Because look, when Alt went down, I think the first thought you had was, oh crap. The second thought you had was, I gotta be at this game. And I felt terrible for you because you said that Slater and Alt weren't playing together the last time you were at a game. It's incredible. Correct. What are the odds of that happening? And we just thought, oh God, what are we gonna see? Not that the offensive line was exactly great in this game, but you got to watch a pretty convincing Chargers win and a record break and experience kind of what I get to when I see the Raiders every year, which is, wow, it's a stadium takeover. But by the third quarter, everybody starts to leave and you're just like, bye. Get to be obnoxious little poo about it. And I don't know if you were, but I am. A lot of Chargers fans certainly are. It's a great feeling to see it sucks when it's a takeover, but it's nice start to leave because their team getting killed.
Yeah, walking into the stadium, obviously people are the Chargers fans are tailgating, and so I knew we walked past the tailgate, said hello to some people, so I knew that there were Chargers fans at the stadium, but we got inside at probably 3:45, and at that point it was the Steelers fans were already inside. There were some Steelers fans that were tailgating and stuff like that. But about 30 minutes before kickoff, I think every Steelers fan was inside, and the Chargers fans were still trickling in, and it felt like 70% full, and it was Steelers fans, and they were loud, and they were cheering every time Rodgers came onto the field and everything like that. The Chargers were doing their introduction, Danny Hoyt, who does a great job emceeing the game. Every single week, he does kind of a breakdown of when the Chargers are on offense, we do this. And when the Chargers are on defense, we do this. Yeah. And when he's talking, the Steelers make their entrance. And you could not hear Danny anymore at all. The Steelers fans were just incredibly loud and booing everything the Chargers are doing. So it was a really cool atmosphere. The Chargers fans that were there, and I think 30%, 70%. That's probably what I would say, maybe 65-35 kind of deal. But I felt like we were loud. And if you've been to a game with me and Brooke, Brooke yells more than I do during the game, believe it or not. And some of the other Chargers fans were looking at her hell yeah, I love that. And so it was a good atmosphere. Obviously, I would love for the Chargers to be at the point where those games are not opposing takeaway or takeover games, but it was a great atmosphere. The game was fun. It was competitive until late in the third quarter. It was really great to see the Chargers kind of stand up in a physical game, which we saw them try to do last year in Pittsburgh. They just did not have the stuff to get it over the line. But this game they definitely did.
Yeah, they did. So I'm excited to talk about it. I know you've kind of raced and Steven's driven back today and watched film. So credit to you for doing all that. That'll be fun to talk about how this game went. I'm very curious because I got to watch it on TV and then watch the film. You got to watch it in the stands and watch films. I'm very curious what our perspectives are.
Yeah. So we did Disneyland yesterday, drove back today. Some kid pulled the fire alarm in our hotel at 4 a.m. So ruined our plans a little bit to leave early and get out of there. But drove back, got home around 2:33. Took the dog on a walk and stuff like that, and jumped right into the film. So we'll get started nonetheless. I literally finished watching a half hour ago. So that's where I'm at today. But before we get to some of our big takeaways, of course, have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks. This episode of the Guilty as Charged podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss all of the fun over on PrizePicks this season, where it is good to be right. Obviously, we have had a ton of fun on this show doing PrizePicks segments and things like that. We talked about Tyler's mom's winnings and everything. They paid for a trip to Houston for the playoff game with Prize Picks winning. So it is definitely a lot of fun. We talk in the Discord about this with our members over there all the time. And one thing I love about Prize Picks is that they are constantly creating new features on the app. And now you can even stack the same player in multiple statistical categories in your lineup. So if you want Justin Herbert in rushing yards, passing yards, the rushing yards is like basically free money, by the way, or passing touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, whatever, you can do that all in one lineup and then add a couple of other players in there. And that is your lineup. So if you're just all in on Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, whoever, whatever quarterback, whatever running back, receiver, tight end floats your boat, you can go all in on that player on Prize Picks. So go download the app today. Go download the Prize Picks app today, I should say. Use the code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So we'll jump in here every single week when we do the film review. We want to do a narrative of the week, and I think you and I are on the same page. You made the thumbnail and everything like that. But I think the biggest takeaway from this game is the return of Jesse Minter's defense, in specifically a very high leverage game. And I think you framing this as the defense made the Steelers quit is appropriate. I think I felt that in the stadium, and then watching that on tape, I think it echoed that same sentiment. So what did you see? What worked for the defense? What did you see? How they kind of imposed their will a little bit, both, live as well as on tape?
Yeah, live, it was just a pure physical brand of football. And I want to talk about Denzel Perryman at some point tonight. But Denzel Perryman very early on, and the defense very early on, let the Steelers know that, yes, you are a storied franchise with great defense and physical brand of football and AFC North and Tomlin and all that. But this is our house, and we are just going to play more physical and more energized than you are. And sometimes that just is what it is for the Chargers defense in some weeks. The games where they just have that are the games that they play better. That feeds Derwin James. It feeds Henley. It feeds Perryman. Feeds the rest of the group. So that was initially on the broadcast, first watch was like, wow, the Chargers are setting the tone here. Jamari Caldwell at the line of scrimmage, Khalil Mack at the line of scrimmage, plenty of these guys just being so much tougher than a really good, offensive line and a pretty generally physical group. Darnell Washington and all these guys. We've talked about their tight ends. And the Chargers were just more physical on defense. But the stuff that they were doing on third down, I don't know how much it has progressed. But I'm assuming it's more because they have Owe and then now Mack back. But the third down stuff, whether they're, 2 corners or 3 corners with Nico Reed now in the slot, they had got those guys playing up much closer on third down, getting it, rerouting the receivers, getting in their face, hitting them off the line of scrimmage. And they've got some combination of Owe, Thule, now Hand being back helps them a ton, Mack. And then they'll usually, if they have that group, have Derwin James and Deion Henley line up right there too. That doesn't mean they always are rushing, but they're there. And there's usually some sort of twist, something nasty. And every time that was on third down, it was, and we saw this as early as like the Titans game last week too. They're able to just jam these guys long enough to throw off the timing of the route. And at some point, one of those rushers is going to get there. And the first few third downs, it was like this player, then that player, then that player. I think it was a succession of, I think it was Owe, then Thule, then Mack. I think on those specific third downs, to the point where after that safety happened, you get to 3rd and 10. I think they're at the Chargers' own 20 something. I don't know. But it was about 13 minutes left in the second quarter. And it's 3rd and 10. And after just getting bullied on third down, the first 3 tries, I believe, Rodgers and the whole play design essentially is 2 yards to Kenneth Gainwell. There was no true effort by them to even do anything else, push it a little bit. They didn't, it's like they just lost belief in themselves. And it felt like at that moment, I could tell watching it and then now on film, they just kind of quit at that point. The Steelers offense just gave up. And the Chargers smelled blood in the water. The defense allowed only 90 yards on their 7 drives after that. They took away the ball 2 times. They forced the turnover on downs. Of course, there was the punt, fumble as well. And the Chargers scored 20 straight. At that point, on that third down, with almost 14 minutes left to go in the second quarter, when they just checked it down for 2 yards and then they missed that field goal, I watched it and went, are they just kind of like, that's odd. They're not trusting anybody in this one. Are they kind of quitting?
Yeah.
And it really just looked like the Steelers quit and the Chargers just kept. I've seen good Chargers defensive performances. I've seen great defensive performances. This is one of the rare times I can remember, and definitely with Jesse Minter's group, not that they were just the better group, they just fucked up the Steelers. Like they just hit them over and over again. And I posted this clip too, and it was more obvious on the broadcast. Rodgers on another third down has, I forget who, someone on the left side. This is eventually on the drive where they turn the ball over on downs. But Justin Aboigbe's got a free shot on Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers throws it and then turns away from the hit, which, listen, I would do the same thing. I'd be dead after the first snap of this NFL game, all right? So I can't really judge. But watching stuff like that, like Rodgers turning away and missing his guy because he's kind of cowering away from the hit. I mean, the Chargers just took, a very storied franchise with some good players, physical brand of football, and just kept punching them in the face. It was, I mean, a lot of fun. as a Chargers fan, it was fun. My parents and my siblings and I, we were watching the game, hooting and hollering. I didn't know my family had that much against Aaron Rodgers, but boy, they were happy to watch his downfall. It was hell. It was welcome to hell by Jesse Minter's group, playing exceptionally great sound and physical football.
Yeah, I obviously watching it in person, you don't get a super great feel for like a game plan and stuff like that. So watching the tape this afternoon, I feel like they had an awesome game plan and approach just heading into it, which we can definitely dive into it. But in this stadium, you really felt the presences specifically of Khalil Mack, Denzel Perryman, and Elijah Molden. And those three players have all missed time and stuff like that. And we sat up here after the Colts game, we were wondering like, okay, what is this Jesse Minter defense really going to look like? And obviously those three players were not, I don't think Molden was back, but I don't think, Perryman was barely back. Mack was barely back and things like, and, they were still kind of reeling from injury. Deshaun Hand obviously came back, on Sunday night, which we can definitely talk about. But those three in particular in the stadium were just flying to the football. And you and I have kind of talked about like, people see bad run defense and it's like, oh, the defensive line must be playing poorly. And that was never really the case for the Chargers in that tough stretch of games. The defensive tackles, I would argue, are a real strength of this football team, especially with Deshaun Hand back. So it was never that. It was more so like flowing to the football, setting the edges a little bit was a challenge at certain times without Khalil Mack. And in this game, you felt Denzel Perryman and you felt Elijah Molden in particular flowing to the football, or as this team likes to call it, burst to the ball, and then making tackles. Like there was the Steelers did an RPO to Darnell Washington, and Elijah Molden is in his free safety spot and flies down and tackles Darnell Washington, who outweighs him by like probably 100 pounds and 6-7 inches taller than him. And Darnell Washington is bigger than his left tackle on his same team. And that was like I think it was the second drive, first play of the game. And I was like, oh, okay, Elijah Molden is back. Like this is the Elijah Molden that we came to love last season. Later on in the second quarter, flies down and tackles Jaylen Warren. Later on in the third quarter, flies down and tackles DK Metcalf. Like Elijah Molden and Denzel Perryman came out and decided, we're going to fuck shit up tonight and we are going to play physical. We're going to put our stamp on this game. And the Chargers just thrived off of that. Boygby was flying around. Thule was flying around. Derwin's flying around. Everybody was flying around. Dayon looked like Dayon for the first time in a few weeks, which was great to see as well. So it just felt like the Chargers defense came out of the gate and said, we're going to win this physical game, not the Steelers, who are the physical team. Like if it felt like they very much wanted to send a message. And Khalil Mack, Denzel Perryman, and Elijah Molden, I think, were the three of them that were kind of the catalyst of that message.
Yeah, glad you brought up Elijah Molden too. Same thing as last week for me, watching the best versions of the defense. Had Molden and Perryman playing better last week, and I thought they played even better this week as well. More of an impact this week. Just was so great to see. It really felt like it changed, right? The Chargers ended up scoring points, but it felt like it was a night where the defense was going to have to keep them to 7 to 10 points. to win this game because it looked a little scary early on for the offense, looked out of sorts. Herbert wasn't super great early on either. But instead of me feeling worried, I mean, I was worried, but instead of me feeling extremely nervous about the defense and like, oh, like they're just surviving, oh, they're just making it out. I mean, it felt like the defense was like, yeah, okay, fine, it's us tonight. And they just were like, let's just like honor, like Big Brothered it or something, and just went up and just beat up everybody for the little brother that was the offense for the most of the first half. It was great to see. And I really think, obviously the players coming back helps, like having Perryman back, having Mack back, having Hand back, having Molden back in full, all that helps. But it has not been, the defense has been night and day different since Khalil Mack said, I'm going to die on the field. Who's with me?
Yeah.
And I hope the coaching staff and training staff knows, I don't care what my snap count's supposed to be coming back from this injury. I'm going to go on Thursday against the Vikings at the time. And I hope everyone's prepared for what I'm about to do. I hope we're all on the same page that I'm going to be out there. And again, it's Khalil Mack in the middle of a season going, okay, this is it. Who's with me? It was previously with taking the teams out to dinners and rallying the team in that way. Now this year, it's just, again, leading by example. The defense has looked so different. Obviously, Khalil Mack being back helps, but everyone has just taken on Mack's challenge, essentially. And you see why he's so valuable to this team.
Yeah, I love that. And there was a quote from Daniel Popper's article where I should have pulled this quote up, but basically he was saying that like at some point you have to decide who you're going to be as a team, and they have decided who they are as a team. And in that 3-week stretch of Commanders, Dolphins, and Colts, the Chargers were 32nd in EPA per play. And again, lots of injuries. Deion is dealing with his situation. Players are not healthy. You're missing several key starters. 32nd in EPA per play. And people are wondering, okay, is Jesse Minter a fraud? Is Jesse Minter this? Can he coach? What's going on? There were certain Chargers fans asking for his head on a spike, essentially. And here we are 3 weeks later, and over the last 3 weeks, they are first in the EPA per play. They are barely letting teams cross the 50-yard line, let alone score touchdowns. And we talked about last season how much we loved when Jesse Minter was like, yeah, we haven't really played any good quarterbacks. We're not good enough, even though they were like, they were crushing the bad quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I love how after the game, Khalil Mack, Derwin James immediately were like, yeah, we are not happy about that touchdown drive at the end of the game. We are not okay with that. That is not what we want to put out on tape. And that kind of mentality was missing for a certain stretch of the season. And I think just bringing that back is great to see. From a schematic standpoint, I thought Jesse Minter's plan was wonderful. They dropped 8 several occasions, and you pointed out heading into the game that Aaron Rodgers wants to throw the middle of the field as much as he possibly can. Like, that is his strength. That's where he has always lived as a quarterback. And if you can take away the middle of the field, you're going to force him to check the football down, and you're going to force him to hold the football and take some sacks, take some hits, and scramble a little bit when he's not really accustomed to scrambling right now. It's just not in his game as a 40-year-old quarterback. And so I thought that the plan to take away the middle of the field was fantastic. I thought dropping 8 several times was very, very smart. I thought Deion, Troy Dye, and Denzel Perryman and Derwin James all were wonderful in that regard. Obviously, RJ Mickens' interception was Deion Henley all the way, carrying that over route, forcing an errant throw from Aaron Rodgers. I just thought that overall it was a very, very smart plan, taking away the middle of the field. And then secondary to that, they were not going to let DK Metcalf beat them. And I think that's been the recipe for the Pittsburgh Steelers is we're going to work the middle of the field, we're going to run the football, and then DK Metcalf is going to beat you over the top. And the Chargers were very much prepared for all of that. Jaylen Warren did some Jaylen Warren things. That hurdle was nasty on Cam Hart. But for the most part, I thought that they executed their game plan wonderfully. I thought Benjamin St-Juste and Cam Hart each had a few really good reps of pressing DK Metcalf, making him, beat them off the line. It's not really what DK Metcalf wants to do. So aside from just, hey, we're going to take this to you and we're going to be the more physical team tonight, I thought the game plan was really, really tremendous from Jesse Minter.
Yeah, I think Mike Tomlin said today that he acknowledged that the game plan was to take away DK Metcalf, and he just said nobody else stepped up. And maybe that's true, maybe that's not, but just a combination of the pressure getting there, the coverage, the rallying. I mean, it felt like even on like 3rd and 10, they're playing back a little bit, but as soon as they knew who it was going to, or as soon as the ball was snapped, everyone's converging on a player. It just felt so, I mean, steel metal pun, I guess, but magnetic. The Chargers were the defenders were so magnetic and trying to, and I don't know, attracted to getting to these Steelers players. Like, it was so nice to see the communication for this group be back. I mean, Derwin James has that one player, or RJ Mickens has that play, or Molden signals something to Derwin signals something to Mickens, and then Mickens, I don't know if he quite gets it, and then Derwin's like, get your fucking ass up there, because it's going to you, man. And then he gets up there, and Mickens makes a great play. It's just everything communicating so well has been so fantastic. You mentioned Henley carrying the deep over. Beautiful to see. The execution was great. The game plan was great. It looked like they knew everything the Steelers were doing, and everything that they wanted to do, they took away. So Rodgers was off on 8 throws, it felt like. A few interceptions, of course. Just uncharacteristic for Rodgers, who had taken care of the football so well. I don't think he had a single turnover-worthy play all year over the middle. And I think both of his interceptions were over the middle, if I'm not mistaken, or pretty close to it.
The one to Jackson might have been like closer to the numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah. At
least in the short game.
Yeah. It was short game. It was pretty crazy to see how often he was just like, no, I'm just going to take the check down here. He just could tell. And I think, he's seen enough football to know at that point. I was around some Steelers fans that were, this isn't who we are as a team. Like, the Aaron Rodgers is way better than us. So, like, is he actually, or have you guys just like not played any good defenses? So
yeah.
I think the secondary, again, these cornerbacks are all playing tremendous football. I tweeted out this clip, but there was one instance where Dante Jackson is covering Roman Wilson on one hash or on one side of the numbers, sprints the entire way over the field, undercuts him, almost gets the interception. The secondary, the corners specifically, are just so dialed into how opposing teams want to play football. It's not always perfect. This is a group of, when Tarheeb is out there, they have 4 really good players. They don't have a star. I think that's fair to say at this point in time, but all 4 of them are so dialed into what the game plan calls for. Cam Hart in the end zone, 4th down, goal line fade, plays that ball perfectly. And I think there are just several instances of any of the 4 of them. And Nico Reed in this game also had a few really great moments as well. The corners are so dialed into what the rules of coverage are. And now we have RJ Mickens kind of starting to figure it out a little bit. And so we can see these kind of performances on a week-to-week basis because everybody is in tune with what Jesse Minter, Steve Klingscale wants from a coverage standpoint, from a responsibility standpoint. As long as the communication is there, this is what you're going to see. Aaron Rodgers is holding the football. He's trying to find DK Metcalf. There's 2 guys over to that side. Who's going to win one-on-one? And when you're asking Calvin Austin and I don't even know what other players they have, honestly, to be completely honest with you, the other receivers are not great. So they're trying to win one-on-one and just not able to do that. And then obviously they had some drops as well. So physicality and the game plan, it just all tied together, and I thought it resulted in a great defensive performance.
Yeah, it was outstanding. So the Steelers were as bad as the Raiders were with Geno Smith on one foot, and Rodgers tied Geno Smith, who had one foot and should have been pulled from that game for adjusted EPA. Like they made him look terrible. And I was actually just going through Rodgers' career, and I think in the last 10 years he's only had, I think it was 8 games that I counted of 3 or more turnover-worthy plays in a game, and Sunday was one of them.
Yeah, Matt Harmon was tweeting about this after the game. Up until that Roman Wilson touchdown, that was tracking to be the 2nd worst game of Rodgers' career in EPA per play of his career.
That's
and
great.
Not to say that this is like primary Rodgers. Obviously, it's not the case. Sure. Like seeing him scramble or try to scramble, it's just not the same as who he was.
No.
Obviously post Achilles, and now he's 40. But for them to do that, and he's largely played really, really good football for them. Obviously, the average depth of target is not. It's like 6 yards right now. It's really, really low. But he's playing really smart football and executing their offense, and he just had no chance. You mentioned a couple of plays where you could see him just kind of giving up. There was a screen that Tier Tart kind of blew up off the left side. They were trying to run a screen to the right side, And Rodgers had Warren, like he could have made a catch and gotten a few yards, and he just decided to throw it and dirt it at his feet. So it was that kind of night for Aaron Rodgers. And Mike Tomlin was asked afterwards, like, how do you assess his play? And he was like, how do you assess his play? Turn it back on the reporters. So that's how it was for Aaron Rodgers on Sunday night.
Not very good. And I think the photo in our thumbnail pretty much sums it up. That's what it felt like watching the game.
Yeah. I like to take, this time and give a quick shout out to Bud Dupree. I've been very critical of Bud Dupree all season long, and I stand by that. Bud Dupree actually dropped into coverage and carried an over route against Jonnu Smith, and then had the biggest strap celly I've ever seen in my entire life, and rightfully deserved from Bud Dupree. The sack was a little bit of a gimme, but he did have another good rush. So I've been very critical of Bud Dupree, but have to give credit where credit is due. I thought he was generally very good today, or on Sunday.
Yeah, and listen, I know it was a free gimme sack, but Bud Dupree actually had to recognize that and then get back to the middle of the field to stop Aaron Rodgers. Does Rodgers pick up 40 yards in that scramble? Probably not, but he had to stop him, and he got him before he went past the line of scrimmage. So even though it felt like a gimme sack, he did have to recognize it and go get back over to the middle to stop Rodgers, who had no one in front of him.
Yeah, that's just running into form from Zachary. Yeah, I thought he played the run well. He's not playing as much now that always up to speed, which is, I think, beneficial for everybody. Yep. Always awesome, man. Like, he's so good. The offseason edge rusher conversation is going to be very interesting for this team. I will say that. But shout out to Bud Dupree, man. Every once in a while you have some good moments, and I guess revenge games also apply to Bud Dupree.
Yeah, I undercovered. Listen, I don't think we had any reason to think this would be the Bud Dupree revenge game, but hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's get to the other side of the ball. I want to talk about the way that this offensive game plan was, and I actually thought it was a really smart, effective game plan from Greg Roman in this instance, and hopefully a sign of things to come. Justin Herbert had his quickest time to throw in this game. Daniel Popper again tweeted out a statistic that apparently is very difficult to understand, according to some national media folks out there, about Herbert's average time to throw and still being pressured on like a 40% clip on those quick throws. But they were very intentional in, let's get Quentin Johnson and Trey Harris the football out in space in a hurry. Let's get Darius Davis on some jet sweeps. Let's try and stretch this thing horizontally as much as we can. Obviously, the pop pass to Keenan Allen later in the game, I don't think that was obviously in the game plan originally. And they did a much better job of getting Kimani Vidal to the edges in this game, using some, orbit motions, jet sweeps, everything like that, counters, tosses. I thought in general it was a much more effective game plan this week than what the Chargers did or tried to do last week. But I think overall Greg Roman deserves a lot of credit for putting together this game plan as well.
Yeah, one of the things I'm just trying to focus on more this year, rather than just the flashiness of it all, is there a numbers advantage for you in the run game? And that fake sweep and then give it back to Vidal to the right side, following Zion, following Trey Harris. Vidal was by himself because the play was designed for the defense to get fooled and to be carried off to wherever they're the right side, left side, right for them. And it just created a nice numbers advantage for Vidal, where there was nobody in front of him. Of course, the guy's got a block. Shout out Gazdin's knee. I'm glad it held up on that play.
Yes.
So it's kind of a bummer to watch that play, but it was a great run call and just needed more of that. There was like the throwback to, was it supposed to be Gadsden that he dropped? It didn't work. It didn't, like, he dropped it, so it wasn't going to.
That was a great play. So it was a fake toss leak.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that in a long time, or definitely not of Greg Roman. So
yeah,
Greg Roman called a really good game on Sunday night.
Yeah, and I loved that one. I'm hoping they go back to it. I think that they will. Yeah. They like to build in those certain tendencies, but they didn't run it outside a ton, but it looked great, overall. But I think everything following Zion as a puller was very effective for them. It's just looking better. I think it was the field goal drive that they have where they open. It's a quick throw to Trey Harris, then it's for 5 yards, and then it's a quick throw right to the left side to Quentin Johnson to pick up that first down. Is it sustainable? Is it going to work every time? I don't know, but if people are just looking at the box score of 3.8 yards per carry for Vidal, the Chargers rushing attack not being that great in this game, the extensions of what they did in that quick game, I think were just wonderful. And then just McConkey tears it up over the middle. And, I'm calling him now the sentient bobblehead just because that's what he looks like to me. He's just got this
helmet. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's the sentient bobblehead for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great to see this quick game and the run game start to take a step forward because that's all you got. And I'm glad with Quentin Johnson. I mean, we saw probably about this time last year, all right, let's throw another bomb to Quentin Johnson against the Ravens and it goes incomplete. Let's throw another bomb for Quentin Johnson against the Bengals. Oh, it's an interception or it's pass breakup or something. In this game, you cannot do that to Quentin Johnson. You cannot get those. Yeah. So I don't remember how many catches he had, and he had a couple drops in this game. But the 3 or so targets just in the quick game to him were great. They didn't force the issue. They said, look, this is where we're at. This is who we're playing. This is the line we have. Get it going to Quentin Johnson. And in those short game moments, he rewarded them. And that play, fourth quarter, whatever it was, we just stuffed one Steelers defender into the dirt, sent the other one flying to the sideline on a juke. Yeah, that's great. Quentin Johnson can do the vertical stuff. It looked great against the Titans. At the same time, in a game like this, you got to pivot. So, was it Roman's best game plan overall? I don't know necessarily, but it felt like one of them because even though not everything worked, the intention, the process, everything going into it, and then the adjustments in the game itself, I thought were all very strong.
Yeah, I would still say the Chiefs is Roman's best one by probably a wide margin, week 1 in Brazil. But people in the chat asking, is this sustainable? I think when the Chargers are throwing those smoke routes to Trey and to Quentin Johnson, that's an advantage read that Herbert has.
Right.
And so they did this often with Mike Williams. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams made a killing off of this for the better part of a decade in Green Bay, obviously. So if Herbert comes to the line and he sees the corners are off, he can just pivot and throw it right away. And there were some times where you see him kind of flash the ball at the running back, and then he's like, no, okay, I'm just going to throw it right away. Other times he just catch and throw. So those are smoke reads that Herbert can make at the line. Those are tags into the play that he can just decide to do whenever he wants. And then Quentin Johnson, if he's going to make 3 people miss every single time on a smoke route, you just keep throwing him the football. Yeah. The stiff arm was incredible. There was, he juked one player and then spun off of another tackle. It was not Quentin Johnson's best game, but highly efficient on his targets. We've seen Trey Harris in other moments be rather effective at that as well. He didn't really get the chance in this one. So those are just plays that the Chargers can do. They have RPO tags in a lot of their runs, whether it's, a flat route to Gadsden or a flat route to Ladd McConkey or those smoke routes. So that part is always in there. The problem is that there are some of these other creative plays that Greg Roman gets away from. And I think that's kind of been my biggest frustration, where you see these lead plays, and now they're doing some counter concepts off of that. Yeah. And it's just not consistently in the game plan. I don't think we saw it once last week. This fake toss leak play to Gadsden. If we never see that again because he dropped it, I'm going to be so annoyed because he was wide open and all he has to do is make, I think it was Kyle Duggar miss, and he's into the end zone. So honestly, the Chargers offense left a good amount of meat left on the bone this week. But my frustrations with Greg Roman largely have been his scripts are good to start each half. And then he just kind of gets away from the plays that work. And especially when you're trying to work with a makeshift offensive line, you have to keep going back to those things. And this week he did. Late in the third quarter, they did a design swing pass to Kamani Vidal, easy 12 yards, first down. Stuff like that was just kind of missing from the previous game plan. So is it sustainable? Yes, because you're just giving Herbert the easy buttons within the structure of the playbook. And as long as you can stick with that, then you can get the ball into the hands of these playmakers quickly and, give your offensive line some breaks.
Were you surprised at Vidal? I know they were up, so they had to run the football more, but I was genuinely surprised to see at the end of the box score that he had 26 touches in this game. I mean, they fully leaned into him. And I know it's part of it's the leads that they have or are trying to maintain. But I mean, the 3 games that he's been very good, it's a player they've gotten the football to intentionally several times. And the 2 games that weren't so good, it was like, all right, here's 8 carries and, we'll figure it out. And up the middle, right? Exactly. Here's 8 carries and they're all up the middle.
Yeah.
Were you a little surprised that he got 26 touches in this game?
I was, especially because they kind of ended the Tennessee game featuring Patterson a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And Patterson looked good in some of those runs. But, Jim Harbaugh said afterwards that they're, Kamani is their lead guy. And if he's feeling it, they'll continue to feature him. So this is potentially upcoming game against Jaguars, the last game without Amari Hampton. So I'm very curious to see what that looks like with him back potentially with Kamani Vidal. But I kind of figured with the way Patterson finished the game last week that he would definitely touch the football more than he did. Did he have a single carry?
He had 1 carry for a yard, I think.
Yeah. So Kamani played well, man. And there were a couple of runs that he created himself, which is always the test, right? Because that lead play, it's an easy 12 yards. Like you just have to go through and finish it. But then there was the goal line scenario where he bounces it. Mekhi Becton and Tyler Conklin on that side just completely beat to their spots. It was horrible. It was a rough Mekhi Becton game, by the way. Yeah. And Kamani bounces it and just beats who's the Ohio State kid? Jack Sawyer beats him to his spot and then gets to the corner, almost scores. So Kamani has this really nice, patient running style where he's not going to force things. Whereas I think certain times last season, whoever the running backs were trying to consistently force the issue a little bit more. And so that's why you see the rushing success rate is actually higher this year, despite like all the injuries and things like that. Is Kamani he doesn't force the issue. Like if you block for 4, he'll give you 5, 6. Like he's not going to try and create to 10 or 12. Like he's really patient and he doesn't bounce it all the time. But when he does bounce it, he's going to make it pay. So I really am thinking that we're seeing Kamani really come into his own. I think he's really improving week to week basis, just like his feel for the game. But yeah, man, I thought he played well, but definitely thought that we would also see Patterson mix in there some more.
Yeah, but happy to see Vidal and what he was able to do. Again, the yards per attempt was not great, but that was a product of the end of the game, just being the end of the game and just BS run the football stuff. I'm sure about until that point, I think he was 5 or 6 yards per carry. Looked fantastic. Every time he bounces it to the outside, I am just confident he's going to score. If it's on the 10, 15-yard line, 5-yard line, he bounces to the outside, I'm pretty sure he's going to score. It feels like on those runs, he maximizes it so well. His vision, his speed, everything on the outside is so great there. So Vidal is here to stay. I'm really thankful that with all some of these injuries or some of the acquisitions, 4 or 5 weeks ago, if you look ahead to the draft, it's like, how the heck do they find? Great. So no Najee Harris, Hampton was hurt, but he's your lead back. So who's your RB2 moving forward? I don't know. And then now we have Vidal, I assume, is going to be their RB2 moving forward. And you feel good about that. Okay, what's the edge rusher situation next year? Oh, gosh, like Thule's, he's not really an edge 1. Mac is hurt right now. Okay, well, here's Owe. Okay, well, there we go. That's kind of solved going to next year. Okay, corners, what's that going to be? Okay, well, Nico Reed. Here,
all of them are good.
Yeah, they're all good. So it's nice. I know it's a long season. They got a ways to go. Yeah, but they're kind of answering some of these questions in season. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, I agree with that. Any other takeaways on offense before we get to some of our other segments here?
I think they're related, so I'll save it for those.
Okay, sounds good. All right, before we get to the rest of our show today, we are going to take a quick break for our audio audience, and then we will be right back after this. Okay, let's dive into some unsung heroes here. Tyler, who did you want to highlight for this week's unsung hero?
Yeah, we've talked about a couple, like Perryman could be one. I think Nico Reed could be one. I think Delshon Phillips being a solid part of the special teams group and having 3 solo tackles on his own on special teams and the fumble recovery on special teams was just great to see. It has generally been the Marlowe Wax show in terms of tackles, and they traded away Jaw Taylor, so it's like, okay, I know he's not the greatest special teams player on the team, but who's going to step up in this scenario? Dean Leonard comes back, didn't have a significant impact, but he was always there on, for the fair catches. So would have made a play, but the fair catch was the fair catch. But Phillips, I thought, was a really, really solid player for them on special teams. Did not play any defense. I couldn't tell you about anything there, but just nice to see that in prime time, these guys stepped up and Phillips was a big part of it.
Yeah, obviously when the Steelers muffed the punt, that was really when like the game was over at that point. So I think, they signed Deshaun Phillips very intentionally. Like they could have brought Nick Niemann back. They've signed for essentially the same exact contract. Obviously swapping places, Houston and Los Angeles, and now Nick Niemann's in Green Bay. So they could have brought Nick Niemann back if they really wanted to, but they intentionally targeted Deshaun Phillips. And so I think it's been a bit of a slow start. He missed the bulk of training camp. But if he can be the player that Ryan Ficken targeted, then that will be a huge thing for this Chargers special teams unit, because, you don't really want, Dan Henley's playing a little bit more special teams now with kind of the struggles. You don't really want that situation to keep going that way. Ideally, you would want Phillips, Wax, and Troy Dye to just be able to kind of handle business there. And for a while, like you mentioned, it's been Wax. So Phillips definitely had some good moments there on tape this week.
Yeah, definitely. Who's your guy?
My unsung hero is going to be Deshaun Hand, who we talked about earlier a little bit here. 4 pressures actually led the team. Bud Dupree's sack and Tuli Tuipulotu's sack were the result of Deshaun Hand's initial rush here. Not that he's like the most impactful pass rusher ever, but he has a real tendency to win on a rip move in particular, where he can just gain leverage and can put the guards back into the lap of the quarterbacks. And I thought that happened several occasions. So PFF gave him officially 4 pressures this week, and I think all of those were high quality pressures. I thought also did a really good job in run support. There were some rough games from Justin Eboigbe as the kind of 4-eye, 5 technique defensive end in those situations. And he's getting better. He had actually a pretty good game himself. He could be featured here too. But Deshaun Hand had a couple of really nice reps taking on a double team from the tackle and the tight end. He had a rep where he took on a puller. I want to say it was McCormick, and kind of forced Jaylen Warren back up towards the middle. So I thought Deshaun Hand was, we weren't sure if he was going to play. He was limited all week. And then boom, activated on Saturday. And it was like, okay, I guess he's playing. So instant impact from his return. Again, just a huge shout out to Mike Elston getting a ton of production out of these guys. It's just not normal at the defensive tackle position.
Nope.
And I thought Deshaun Hand just came back, was a real steady presence for them. And he's the main guy that they want to feature in the 3 edge rusher looks from a pass rush standpoint. And I think in that situation, he's very, very good in that role.
Yeah, it's awesome to have him in those looks. Or if they don't do that and they have Derwin play back and Henley a bit off, they have him and Eboigbe. It's just so nice to have with Eboigbe's own little mini ascension, not resurgence, but step forward this season. Now they have both of these guys. The interior defensive lineman, we can say it every week, and I'm fine if we do, because it is just appointment viewing to watch those guys. I will watch them over watching any offense or any of the corners or Derwin James, maybe not Derwin, but I will generally watch the interior defensive linemen because they're just so effing fun. They early on just kicked the crap out of the Steelers interior, which I know is missing a player. Again, funny that they miss one player in one game for the first time all year. Must be nice. But I guess he must have been pretty good, because the Chargers interior players were given these Steelers interior players who are good the business. I mean, they were kicking ass up front. Hand, Caldwell, everybody that was playing awesome football. It's crazy that we have somewhere else is Poona Ford, who's playing great. Like the Rams, he's playing great for the Rams as far as I'm concerned. It seems like the numbers are good. I think someone said he was top 15 in some metric. And you don't feel it. Like, it'd be nice to have Poona Ford. The defense would be better with Poona Ford.
Yeah.
But man, it's just so nice that the Chargers have a whole interior where they're just playing awesome football right now.
Yeah, it wasn't Tier Tart's best game. Zach Frazier is really good. He's
he is really good.
But Tart and Zach Frazier had some battles, man. Like that was fun to watch as just kind of like a trench enthusiast. Obviously, I wish I would, I want Tart to win every single rep, but him and Zach Frazier were at it. And it was a fun thing to watch. So we talked about Jamari Caldwell last week. He's been so good, and he had that run stop that set up the safety, the play before that. He had another run stop later in the game, which PFF did not give him credit for, but I think it was he's just really good, man. He can play the 1 tech, he can play the 3 tech, he can play all over across the line. He's going to set the line of scrimmage. I love watching Jamari Caldwell play football, and it's a scary thing to think about because he's not even really like got in, NFL conditioning here for a little bit. So
Yeah,
it's a really good group. I think the bulk of these players should be brought back and then maybe drop in like a first round talent. I think that'd be great. But more thoughts on that later. We've been joking around about this all season, but Jorge, yes, shout out to Josh Harris. So I was focusing on Josh Harris because I was like, okay, like what is this going to look like? The snaps were all clean.
Yeah.
And Josh Harris confirmed different athlete than the guy who retired. The first punt of the game, Dean Leonard kind of runs by the punt returner. I think that he thought that J.K. Scott was going to maybe kick it past him. And Josh Harris was the first one there. He was the first guy there. He did not make the tackle attempt, but he forced the guy out to the sideline. It happened a couple of times. So, shout out to Josh Harris, man. The special teams operation was mostly clean. Cameron Dicker doinked, which is so funny. So we're sitting there in warmups, and Cameron Dicker and Chris Baldwell go up to each other. They're dapping each other up, and maybe they were warming up prior to this, but we were there pretty early. And they just both sat at midfield and just started kicking 60-yard field goals. Your turn, my turn. All of them were good. Neither of them missed. Boswell hits from 59. Dicker hits from 59. And then Boswell misses from 45. And then Cameron Dicker misses from like 48. And I'm like, okay, this is just funny.
Yeah.
But anyways, shout out to Josh Harris because he is a different athlete at long snapper than the previous situation.
Yeah.
The operation was all completely clean all game long.
Yeah, there's one punt return. I think Delshon Phillips made the tackle, but the return gets absolutely upended. But like you said, Josh Harris doesn't make the tackle, but he flies down there and forces him to just the returner to go a little bit left or just hesitate for long enough where the rest of the guys get there and he makes a tackle. And Josh Harris is, freaking out. He's super stoked about the whole thing. Nice to see him out there. No snap issues in this game necessary, but we saw with the Packers, high snap, the holder just could not quite get it down. The kick goes like 45 degrees the other direction at the end of that game.
J.K. Scott thinking there.
No, yeah. Yeah.
McManus is not like that.
No, he's not. Boswell, you can do that with. Dicker, I think you can do that with. Not McManus at this point in his career. So shout out to him. If I have like one more like quick thing on unsung heroes, to me, it's the corners. I think you could say this every week.
Yeah.
Dante Jackson, Benjamin St-Juste, Cam Hart. We had Pro Bowl sneaking to the Pro Bowl aspirations for Tarheeb still. We believe. Like, what have you thought about him in the draft and after the draft? After what we saw last year and how he did in this defense, we thought, okay, if nothing else, he's going to make a huge step forward.
That's the guy.
He's going to be their best. That's the guy. Big step forward. Good corner. Potentially great corner. He wasn't on the field and hasn't been on the field. Have you noticed? Has anybody noticed? And that's no shade at Tarheeb still.
Yeah.
But holy good gracious, great balls of fire. These corners are playing awesome. And I forget, I wrote it down somewhere. The Chargers' 5 main corners, which is really just 4, but Reed is now like their 5th guy, I guess.
Yeah.
They've allowed 85 passing yards per game this season, these corners. The Broncos' corners allow 114. The Texans' corners, who I think have the best corners right now, allow 76. I'm not saying that they're individually Derek Stingley, but the collective of what they do is really effing good. I can't believe how good these players are. And the fact that they are all, other than St-Juste, under contract next season is fantastic. So if they want to go get themselves a blue chip corner, I get it. At the same time, if they just run this group back, I'm fine with that too. I was very, very concerned about this group again, because I didn't think, again, you could take these, no offense, but not big
Benjamin St-Juste and Dante Jackson weren't doing it for you?
Or no. When you see them signed to the Chargers and the first reactions from Steelers fans and Commanders fans is like, ding dong, the witch is dead. You have some concerns. Cam Hart's got some injury issues. Your surest thing is Tarheeb still, who isn't even a sure thing. These guys are awesome. These guys are all effing outstanding. They're playing better than they did last year. And I don't know where Tarheeb still is going to get a job back. They've been rotating as is, so it's not like it's a very set trio or duo. I don't know. Do you take Nako Reed off the field? He was awesome. Like just okay, here's your first start on prime time. Okay, perfectly played pass breakup down the field, no problem. Cam Hart, fourth down, no problem. In press, no problem. This is a great corner groom that I should have given more credit to.
Yeah, I think Steve Klinkscale and Jesse Minter, man, like it's
Oh my
just
gosh.
major hat tip. But the other thing with Nico Reed, which he barely played in the slot in the preseason.
Right.
Like he didn't play in the slot in college, like minored in it a little bit. Did not play in the slot in the preseason or training camp. It was like, yeah, like, oh, well, here's a little bit in practices here and there. But when the preseason games happened, he was the outside corner. And just Tari still goes down. It's like, all right, here's your slot corner after that. So they're just all dialed into the game plans. They're dialed into the techniques. Like all of them are just nails on out routes. All of them boundary situations where they have to use the sideline to their advantage, ball skills. It's fantastic. There are some nitpicky games that I think you like Tarheeb is guilty of knocking his head around a little bit on certain instances. Dante Jackson has a thing where in cover 3 specifically, he'll kind of bite at an underneath route, and it's not really cost them a game yet, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on. But again, this is a guy that you're paying, $10 million or whatever it was. You're barely paying him, starting caliber corner money, and all of them are playing well. So as long as the Chargers can do that, man, like their defensive floor is just going to be so high because you're going to be in the right positions. And this game, they had a couple chances at the football, but when you're consistently in the right positions, if there's any mistake from the quarterback, any mistake from the receivers, that's an interception. And as long as you can, come down with the football, they're going to be in those positions time and time again if they just do their job. So it's great to see the execution on a week-to-week basis from that group is outstanding.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Only getting easier with the pass rush with Owe, who has just been his own little force multiplier for the group. Great to see his addition continue to pay off.
Yeah. We'll do one more positive, and then I think we do have to discuss the elephant in the room with the offense. But
sure,
we do real or fake on this segment on this show every single week. Fake Vlad McConkey's sophomore slump, man. The dude over the last basically 5 weeks has been incredible. And people to start the season, it was like, oh, like what's wrong with Vlad? What's wrong with Vlad? He was getting coverage shaded to him all the time. And Daniel Popper did a great article about this earlier today. Chris Rim has talked about this as well. The other Chargers have played so well in those first few games of the season that they're getting the attention now. Rondé Gadsden's getting attention. Keenan Allen on third downs is getting attention. And Vlad McConkey is back to getting one-on-one situations. And I know it's not – Brandon Echols is not their normal starting slot corner, but he's an NFL slot corner. Like, he plays on a regular basis for them. That dude stood there like a deer in the headlights in that red zone touchdown. I have never seen that happen in a real, like, NFL starting game. Vlad McConkey was cooking on Sunday night. It is his birthday as well. Shout out to her for bringing that up. So shout out to
nice.
Happy birthday. Vlad McConkey is awesome, has been awesome. And now that other teams are saying, hey, man, the Chargers have some other good players here, we can't just all focus on Vlad McConkey. He is feasting in one-on-one coverage. It's been a treat to see so far.
Yeah, he's been awesome. I love that there's a sophomore slump for him, and it lasted 5 weeks, and then he's just back to himself. And he's not like he was terrible over that stretch, but still on pace to have over 1,000 yards. At this 5-game stretch pace, he's going to very well clear 1,000 yards. Just the beginning of the season was like there's like an 11-yard game in there somewhere, but he's looked fantastic. And to your point on Gadsden drawing coverage, and I'm glad he's okay as far as we can tell. Which was, I was about ready to, I mean, poor Alex. I probably had to fly to Florida just to check on him. But there was on that specific play, I think there was a defender in the flat in that area, but he was covering the running back. But the two other players were on Gadsden. The safety that was, I think, supposed to be on inside to help out against McConkey they're all going to Gadsden. They're like, oh shit, there goes this, this rookie tight end who's a phenom. Go get him. And then Vlad McConkey's like, great, thanks. And like you said, I looked at that play so many times thinking, okay, well, maybe he's expecting this or that, or it's not. I don't know. I try to think of why did this happen to this NFL corner? At the end of the day, McConkey just it was a blur, and he just stood there, and McConkey just easiest score of the night. But that throw to end the game, of course, the 58-yard play by McConkey, I didn't realize Jalen Ramsey still had those jets on him. I didn't realize he was that fast still, or that McConkey could not seal that one. But either way, he's been phenomenal. He's been good as is in those one-on-ones. He's been a driving force at the end of games as well.
Yeah.
So yes, there wasn't as much opportunity early on. The good news is the Chargers have kind of started to figure it out. He's in a bit more of a better rhythm at this point. So he's been awesome.
Yeah, after the game, he said that Justin was giving him shit for not scoring because Jalen Ramsey should not catch you from behind, man. Like, and I don't know if I don't know if he thought he could cut back or I don't know what we was saying. Because he had him beat. So I don't know. Maybe he thought like, hey man, let's burn some clock. I don't know.
That's what I thought.
But yeah, Ladd should have scored there. But I think, part of is this offensive performance sustainable? I think part of the answer that is yes, is because of Ladd. So they're going to do these flat stuff to Ladd or to QJ and to Trey and Kamani. And that's just going to keep the middle of the field open. So if they want to pivot to some RPOs with Ladd over the middle, that's a great pivot. And I think you saw that on the touchdown. You saw that. I think he had like a 16-yard game that set up their second field goal, I want to say, where, again, it was just a little choice route, skinny post kind of situation. Justin hits him really quickly, first down, 16-yard game, something like that. So is the offense sustainable? I think yes, because Ladd is still your force multiplier over the middle of the fields. And now that you kind of have this balance where Gadsden is getting X targets, he's getting, the main receiver on one side targets, Keenan on third down, Trey deep, QJ deep in the flats. All of this stuff is happening. And that's just going to leave a lot of space to Ladd. Whereas last year was like Ladd over the middle, or we're just kind of screwed. We don't have another alternative here. So
yeah,
the Chargers have options now. And so I think Ladd's continued ascension as their number one receiver is going to continue to give them a high floor on offense. Even if the thing we're about to talk about also gives them a low floor, maybe a lower ceiling on offense, I guess. Yeah. But Ladd's ascension has just been wonderful to see again.
It has been. All right. We waited an hour and 1 minute and 47 seconds to bring up the bad thing. Does anyone want to guess what it is? Yeah, so Justin Herbert on pace to be pressured 294 times this season, which, if I'm not mistaken, would be a record. I can't imagine in any 16 game seasons there was one that was higher. The sad thing is Herbert would already be top 3 in pressures in a season because he was pressured 272 times a couple of years ago. And now he's on pace to be pressured 294 times. The worst part about that, you can say, okay, hey, it's 10 games, but things could get better. This is now purely post-alt. Like this, yeah. I don't think this number is going to get any better. They still have to play some very, very good pass rushers, some good defenses, defensive lines. Like they still got to play the Broncos again. They'll play the Eagles. So he's going to break the single season record for being pressured the most times in a season. And it got scary there for a minute against the Steelers. I don't know how you guys felt in the stands, but Herbert went down. And I thought when you could see him try to I thought it was like a hamstring at first, but then they showed on the replay, his ankle went the other direction. Yep. The broadcast said they had to tape both of his ankles.
Yep.
So thankfully there's a bye the week following this, but it is rough. Unfortunately, it's not simply just a matter of the defense being very good. The offensive line and a guy you mentioned, Mekhi Becton, are also not holding up their end.
Yeah, I thought they did okay on the edges. Actually,
yes.
they chipped, they double teamed. Obviously, that was the main focus for them. And TJ Watt had one hit, which I thought was late. Alex Highsmith went low on Herbert one time, but outside of that, they were not huge factors in the game. The biggest concern is the interior, obviously, that continues. Zion, I thought, played pretty well. He got beat a couple of times by Cam Hayward. That's Cam Hayward. It's going to happen.
Sure.
But, dude, Keanu Benton just destroyed Mekhi Becton in both facets, in the run defense as well as his pass rush. And it's not like Keanu Benton he's not Cam Hayward. He's not this amazing interior pass rusher. He's a good player. Mm-hmm. But Mekhi Becton, I don't know if he came back a week too soon. I don't know if his knee injury is 100%. It was rough. He got beat off the line. He got beat with moves. He got beat with power. It was a rough Mekhi Becton performance. So we've had the same conversation about like Bradley Bozeman. When you're dedicating so many resources to the edges and saying we're not going to let TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith beat us, and Nick Herbig, who's also a really good player, you have to have interior guys who can hold up. And previously, that problem has been Bradley Bozeman or Foster Sorrell. Bradley Bozeman was like fine. This was a decent Bradley Bozeman game. But Mekhi Becton was just consistently just beat to his spot, beat with power. His anchor was late. It was a rough performance from Mekhi Becton. And so you see Herbert get hit the way he did. And I think that Jim Harbaugh's quote after the game was very concerning to me, where we knew that this was going to be a game. I forget his exact words, but essentially his line was, we knew that Justin Herbert was going to have to take some hits tonight because we didn't want to turn the ball over. And I'm like, shouldn't you trust your quarterback to not turn the ball over more and try to protect him more? Like it was just really frustrating to me. And, you know, part of the whole problem here is structural, because the previous regime, whoever the offensive coordinator was, whether it was Joe Lombardi, whether it was Kellen Moore, they almost always preferred to have 5 men out in the route. And Justin would always have a check down, and he would be able to go 1-2 and then immediately check it down to Austin Eckler. That's why he had 100 catches that one year. And it's not the best approach. Every team has different approaches to that, but he always had a check down. And with this regime, there's never really a check down built into the offense. So they keep more people in for protection, and then there's no hot route various times throughout the game. And so Herbert's choices are, I'm going to take the receivers that are available, I'm going to scramble, or I'm going to take a sack. And with this offensive line, unfortunately, he's taking a ton of sacks because he just has no choice. Luckily, later in the game, he had like a 16-yard scramble and it looked great, looked like his usual self. But you talked about this a few weeks ago. This is going to cause some damage here later on. And the Steelers, this version of the Steelers is not even like a great defensive line. They have a couple really good players, but you know, the Houston defensive line terrifies me later on in the season. What is it going to look like against the Broncos defense? Again, maybe that week 18 game doesn't matter for one team or another. So we'll see. But they have some really good defensive lines coming up. The Jaguars are reeling right now, and we're going to talk about that, but they have some good defensive line players. So they're going to continue to protect their tackles. And if Mekhi Becton plays like he did on Sunday night, it's going to continue to be a problem. Thankfully, it wasn't like Foster Sorrell bad, but it was still very bad.
Yeah, it was not great. I was hoping for better. It felt better watching the broadcast. It felt like, okay, like they mitigated some of the edge pressures, like you said. So there was no, like the previous time they played TJ Watt. I was up, TJ Watt has a strip sack, TJ Watt off the edge, you know, this and that. Like they did a very, very good job stopping the edges overall. But yeah, the interior was a problem. It sucks that Becton is not panning out just yet. I'm still hoping, because again, like we've seen with Molden, we've seen with Mack and some of these guys, yes, they're back. Yes, they log a full practice. It takes weeks to get back to full. I think Becton post-bye should be better, but I don't really know. Benton really did, like whoever the interior guys were at the time, just kind of beat him up in this game. It's not been a great season. It's not been a healthy season for him. I do... Thankfully, they have shown that they will give Vidal the ball 26 times. I think that is a promising sign that the defense has played great. So it's a promising sign that they can hopefully lower some of the number of the frequency of hits or pressures for Herbert. But 294 times, you can't go into the postseason. I mean, they didn't last year. You can't go into the postseason with a worse offensive line than Herbert's basically ever had and go win a game in the playoffs. And what are you going to do? Go play the Bills for the Joey Bosa revenge game. Go play the Chiefs, and Chiefs have been a hit or miss. Do you have to play the Broncos at some point? That's not fun. Do you have to play the Ravens, who are now 3 in a row? Do you have to play the Steelers again? You know, so do you have to play? God forbid you got to go play Houston or go thankfully, probably not in Houston. But you have to do that again.
I would be surprised if they had played Houston in the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, yes. But pick your poison, unless you're getting that Bengals front, which they're not going to be in it.
But even they have Trey Hendrickson, man.
Even they have Trey Hendrickson. I mean, the Dolphins at least, well, they're not in it anymore.
Yeah.
Point is, pray for Herbert. I hope it gets better. It's not going to get any easier. And so I'm glad they've at least shown the quick game, the run game evolution, some other stuff.
Yeah.
But we saw Herbert go down on Sunday night, and it did not look good. He looked very hurt. I thankfully he shook that off for whatever reason. He's probably going to be on the injury report this week in a very minor way, but he probably will be on it.
Yeah.
And we just got to hope he gets to the bye. They fix up some things, but it's been a rough start.
Yeah, I think as long as they can stay in positive game scripts and be able to run the football, like they'll be okay overall on offense. Like I don't think this is going to like completely cater the offense, but especially once Amarian comes back, you have a really nice 1-2 punch at running back. You have the receivers, you have Gadsden, who hopefully doesn't miss too much time with this quad injury. They have enough playmakers where the offense I think should be okay, but it's always just going to kind of be like a little bit more stressful than we're used to because we just have no idea what's going to happen. And again, you can dedicate all the resources possible to the tackles. You have to have your interior guys hold up, and it feels like every week one of them is just like, here's a 6 pressure game for you, and it's just horrible to watch, every single week on tape. And so one of those guys just has to be one of Bozeman or Mackay specifically. It has to be more consistent going forward. And Mackay has had some really good moments in pass protection. Like I thought to start the season, he was actually really good in that regard.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can get back to that, because if you have Zion and Mackay playing at least consistent, maybe not like amazing, but at least consistent, then you can live with that. And then Bradley Bozeman, is much less of an issue there. So hopefully this is a little bit more correctable, man. But 294 times in one season is insane. Like it's there's no close second. I think Alex said that the second closest is Drake May, and it's like 30 pressures fewer. And it's like, well, their offensive line is supposed to they were supposed to be bad.
Yeah.
Obviously the Chargers are very injured, but hopefully there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel in that regard. Like you mentioned, I think limiting their ceiling in the playoffs is definitely where we're at with the offensive line.
Yeah. But I'm glad at least they figured out how to put up 23 points officially with all those issues with that line, with a good defense in front of, or defensive line pass rush group in front of them. So it wasn't pretty. He was pressured a ton, but they did find a way to survive in this one too.
Yeah. Just got to, again, stay in positive game scripts, run the football as much as you can. I think they'll be okay, but unfortunately Herbert's just going to have to get hit a lot more than he's used to. So that's where we're at. Yeah. All right, Tyler, any other thoughts before we get into super chats? We have 15 tonight, which is
holy cow,
kind of fun. We appreciate the heck out of you guys. But any final thoughts from you before we dive in?
Happy they won. We picked positively and they won. So Steven, you and I have not differed on a single pick this year. So I'm very curious if that'll change coming up.
Yeah, I picked Jacksonville as a loss in the preseason, but the vibes down in Jacksonville are very bad. So that might be different. We'll see what happens there.
Yes.
Okay, let's get to some super chats. Dre kicking us off says Justin Herbert playoff win this season. Book it. So I sure hope so as well. Right now, they're the 5 seed. If the playoffs were today, they would have a rematch against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. I don't think the Steelers are winning that division at this point in time. So it's a very different playoff field. The Colts and the Patriots are kind of running away with it a little bit. So we'll see what happens there if the Bills and any other AFC South team can make it interesting. I think the Ravens are probably going to end up winning that division. And then you have the Chargers and the Broncos and the Chiefs and kind of how that sorts out. If the Chargers can manage to win the division, which winning next week would be a huge help for that, then I would feel much more comfortable about winning a playoff game going forward.
Oh yeah. No, I think I like their chances over. I like their chances to win one playoff game. I just don't think the line is sustainable for a full run.
Yeah, it depends who that game is. Like,
sure.
The Bills you mentioned, like the Bills can't really stop the run. Like the Dolphins ran all over them on Sunday. Ed Oliver is potentially out for the season. There's like a chance he comes back for the regular season. But I feel like the offense will be okay. The question would be, how do you stop Josh Allen? That's a very big question. But
Yeah.
There are some matchups that I would be not excited about. I would not be excited about traveling to Baltimore and playing that defense and trying to stop Lamar Jackson. But I feel okay about their chances depending on the matchup. But I think, we've got to see Omari and Hampton come back and get back involved here a little bit more after the bye week as well.
Yep.
Alex Bridgeforth wants to know, which players would you guys give game balls to? I think we touched on this a little bit. If you had to pin down one or two, who would you say?
Ooh. So difficult. On the defense, it felt like everybody contributed in some way. I'll go Denzel Perryman. I think he just set the tone early and allowed the team to go, okay, cool, we'll play like that.
Yeah, Perryman's a great one. I'm going to stick with Elijah Molden. He was my biggest takeaway from tape, is that Elijah Molden is back, and I thought he was fantastic this week.
So good.
Sockpoot? I don't know, man. Sockpoot. I'm sorry. You can tell me how to pronounce this, but he says the days since the last stream have felt like months. LOL, you guys are my fave show. How would you feel about moving Slater to guard when he returns? We appreciate the kind words.
Yeah,
but
super nice.
You got to tell me how to say your name next time, so I don't have to do that again.
It did feel like a while since the last live stream. I wish I had the ability to go live on Sunday. It would have been fun partying with you guys and myself or something. But Slater moving to guard. Would Slater be a good guard? Yes, he would be. Will he play guard? Nope. They're going to send his ass out there to tackle because they are paying him like one.
Yeah, I don't think you play him at guard. I think you probably put him at right tackle. We'll see what happens with that now that Alt is injured, unfortunately. But I don't think he will be that much worse at tackle. Like, to me, it was like, if he is exponentially less athletic, then put him at guard. But I still think he'll be okay at tackle.
Yeah.
Dre wants to know what AFC playoff teams scare you guys the most. For me, it's the Ravens. I know that they're still technically not like the AFC North winner, but the idea of playing Derrick Henry in the playoffs and that defense with Kyle Hamilton kind of figuring things out there.
Yeah.
I don't really want to experience that again. Them in Buffalo, I just don't want to play at either of those places. I feel okay about their chances in the other places on the road. But at Buffalo or at Baltimore are probably the two teams that I am staying as far away as possible.
Yeah. I've seen them play the Ravens. I guess it was last year, but that really sucked. So I don't want to see that again. The Ravens aren't quite the same team, but they could be shaping up to be that team by the end. At Buffalo is arguably the worst idea. I don't necessarily mind playing the Ravens. I feel like there's an aspect of they kind of might choke, and kind of fumble the game away in some way in that game. So I feel like if you get to 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, there's a chance that they pull a Chargers. It's the same for me. And I know it doesn't seem like it because of the way they're playing right now, but it's the same for me as is every year. The Chiefs, because they'll find a way to win. Their season starts in January. Their season starts in January. They turn it all on. And this team that was whatever they were in the regular season wins 3 or 4 games and goes to the Super Bowl. So I don't really want to play them.
Yeah, they play at Denver this week. Denver fans are really feeling themselves, but Andy Reid off a bye is a very dangerous coach.
Oh, yes.
So that is going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening in that game. I don't know if the Chiefs might be a little too far behind to win the division. But they have some tougher games coming up. I think they still have to play the Packers and things like that. Obviously have to play the Chargers again. But yeah, I think I would, because of familiarity, I think I would probably feel more comfortable at Kansas City than at Baltimore. But that's a very narrow margin there.
Yeah, definitely a 3-team tier.
Yeah. Tara Romero wants to know, or she says that she was late to the stream. No worries there. Always appreciate you jumping in here. If you haven't already, I would love to know your thoughts on Nico Reed. Played 21 snaps. Not sure how many he was targeted on.
Definitely was targeted once. Had the pass breakup there. I feel like I saw somewhere he allowed an 8-yard reception or something. Wow. He was targeted 4 times. Anyway, 4 targets, allowed 1 catch for 8 yards, and had a pass breakup. Passer rating allowed of 39.6. I thought he was pretty darn sound. I thought he played pretty darn well. 21 snaps, all in the slot. Looked good.
Yeah, just looked like he belonged out there, which is always what you're looking for with a rookie, particularly, in his first start. And again, in a different position than what he played in the preseason. That pass breakup, man, is high level stuff from a corner. Just great anticipation, great athleticism. Obviously would have loved to see him come down with the interception, but yeah, as long as he can get his hands on that football, man, it's a very high level corner play. And again, just looks comfortable out there on tape, I think is the biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
Kylan Alexander says, longtime listener, usually can't catch live shows. Appreciate all your work. We appreciate you jumping in here, Kylan. Love to see you. Hopefully we can get you back in a live show sometime soon.
Yeah. What's up, Kylan? How you doing?
Bob Middleton says, can we give Roman some props? Game plan was good. I agree. I think we did that earlier. As long as he can consistently, get to those kind of creative touches for players, I think we can have a higher floor on offense than we might anticipate with this offensive line.
Yeah.
Tara back with another one, says, also Owe has been so huge for this team. He has freed up Tuli a lot, and you are starting to see everyone benefit from this when Dupree is getting a sack.
That's when I knew. When Bud Dupree had the sack, I'm like, oh, they got this. The Chargers had this one in the bag.
Yeah, and his stomp out celebration always cracks me up, but I don't know if he did that in Pittsburgh or not. I don't know if it's a new thing, but
I don't know. He hasn't sacked the quarterback enough for me to know. So it feels like a new thing.
But yes, Odafe Owe is fantastic, and he has been a great addition. Again, going to be very interesting to see what this looks like in the offseason. His pass rush bag is much deeper than Ravens fans admitted. I don't understand where that came from, but he hit Broderick Jones with an inside spin, and I tweeted the clip out, and I was like, dude, like he just cooked him right off the line. So he's got the bag. He's obviously an athletic freak. He's been very good for the Chargers for sure. Mr. Dog Chow Chow on cue about the interior offensive lineman wants to know, why isn't Zion's run block PFF ranked higher?
If you're talking about this specific game, did he have a hold on a run? He had a holding call. I don't remember if it was run or...
Did he?
I feel like it was a run play, but I could be wrong. If that's the case, then that's probably why. I don't remember other particular issues for him, but PFF and grades or something. I don't... It's a big controversy.
He did have a penalty on a run, so that will definitely make things go lower.
Yeah, that's probably the one that would do it.
Yeah. So PFF system, they get dinged a lot, and a lot of the shows had fun with like the Chargers grades, and all of them were like 38th out of 38 or whatever. It was really bad. But their grading system for offensive linemen is very, very strict. And essentially it's like, if you make a mistake, you get dinged in a big way. So maybe you're not necessarily allowing a lot of pressures, but if you lose 5 or 6 reps that don't result in pressures, your grade is going to get impacted. So if you have a penalty, multiple penalties, your grade is going to get impacted. I thought Zion Johnson as a run blocker was fantastic. I thought that he was really he's always been this way. Chargers, a lot of the negative haters out there don't want to acknowledge, but he is the linchpin of their run game, and he is really, really good in that sense. The pass protection wasn't always perfect, but again, his pressures were not the reason why Herbert was sacked a lot. That was the other guard. So Zion was fine.
Normal, a couple of normal pressures, giving up losses, no significant issues. He did get dumped on his ass once, but he didn't. That was a pressure.
No. I think Herbert kind of escaped that pretty instantly. So
yeah.
Kylan Alexander, I know it's not how they operate. I think they should do an in-season extension with Odafe Owe. Might be a discount.
I think maybe the Chargers would want to do that. There's no way Owe wants to do that. He wants to probably hit the open market and be, I don't know what kind of pass rushers are available that are like him, but a former first-round pick now racking up sacks and playing well with a second team as well, which is, I think, even more potentially lucrative. He's going to want that open market contract.
Okay, so just real quick, pulling up free agent edge rushers. It is a pretty good group next year. So Jalen Phillips is a free agent. Joey Bosa is a free agent. Obviously, Odafe Owe, Caleb Chason, who's having a breakout season in New England. You have Joseph Osai, DJ Wanham, Kwity Paye. So it's not like a super deep group. There's some names on there. Boye Mafe, who was apparently almost the Kansas City Chief. Malcolm Kuntz, Alex Wright, Trey Hendrickson, Emmanuel Agba, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Arnold Ebiketie, Kyle Manoy, Leonard Floyd. So it's a pretty good group. If this were last year's edge rusher group, he would be. There's no way he's coming back to the Chargers if this were last year. But there's a good enough group where I don't think he should be like automatically the number one guy, especially not if Jalen Phillips is hitting free agency. He would be the number one guy.
Yeah, easily.
But Odafe is going to be getting a nice payday. Like I think we talked about this. Like Josh Sweat makes $19 million a year. Jonathan Grenard, Bradley Chubb, $18 million a year. There's going to be a team out there that looks at Odafe Owe and says, from our first rounder that had 8 sacks in 2024 for the Ravens,
I think it was
4
10.
sacks for the Chargers, potentially more, whatever the case would be, physical freak athlete. There's going to be a team out there, if it's not the Chargers, that will throw him $20 million a year easily.
Yeah. Yep. So I hope he sticks around, but I also understand that you also need some picks. Eventually, you need some 2027 picks as well, and a comp pick would help you there.
Yes. The Chargers have a lot of important decisions this offseason from an internal perspective. But Khalil Mack is not getting any younger. I will refuse to doubt that man until he shows me a reason to do that. But having Tuli and Odafe locked up for the next, 4 or 5 years would be pretty nice.
It would be.
Next one from Bob back in here again says, looking forward to Herbert against Jags defense. I haven't really dived into the numbers a whole lot. They were really good in like the first 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Very turnover heavy, but I don't know where they're at currently. But the vibes in Jacksonville are not good right now.
Nope. Travis Hunter out for the season now. Crazy. You have your Malik Neighbors, Travis Hunter, all these great potential, guys just out. It sucks. But yeah, vibes stink over there. Curious how long until Canales ends up being their offensive coordinator next year if he gets fired from the Panthers and they let go of their guy.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence vibes are not great either, by the way.
Nope.
Mario Romano, excuse me. How many games do we win? Will we win a wild card? So we kind of talked about the playoffs. Chargers are obviously 7-3, so they have 7 more games to go. I think I'm probably at 11. So
we can all agree, beat Raiders.
Yep.
I think we feel good about them beating Jacksonville next week. And then so that's 9. So can they get 2 more against the Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Texans, and Broncos?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about them beating the Cowboys. The Cowboys defense is an atrocity. I know they just traded for Quinnen Williams, but it's not good. And I think that they can, at least stymie Dak Prescott a little bit. So I think they can get to 10. Whether or not they can, does that week 18 game matter? I think is the question. I'm probably going to have them losing to the Eagles and to the Chiefs. So can you find one other win between Houston and Denver to get to 11? I think is the question. But I think at least 10, and that would be enough for the playoff spot. Can they get to 11 is my question right now that I'm kind of struggling with the Houston Broncos games at the end of the season.
Yeah, 10 feels good. Just that the 3 out of 4 games to end the season on the road are rough.
Yeah. Luckily against Houston, really all you have to do is score like 20 points and you should be okay because that offense is not good.
The good news is you only have to score 20 points. The bad news is you have to score 20 points on that.
That game might be like 9-6. Like the offensive lines in each of those games are very overmatched. So the Texans offensive line is not good.
No.
But yeah. So I think 10, maybe 11. Saeed Gaida wants to know how many roughing the passer calls does Herbert have? I don't know if there's a specific stat out there, but not as many as he should have. The Highsmith one where he went low, and I forget, it might have been, I don't think it was Herbig. It might have been Sawyer came off the other side and went high. Was complete bullshit. It was after the hip drop tackle, which like they're not really calling the hip drop tackle like they should, but they're not. But when you have a quarterback get high load, that's 99% of the time roughing the passer. So I thought that one was complete bullshit. But there's one or two a game where Herbert just doesn't get that call. I don't know why, but he very rarely gets roughing the passer called.
Him. He was very animated in this game, though. He was very talking to the refs about it, which was definitely a surprise. And they were like, oh, okay, well, too bad. I think on the season, it feels like he has one. I don't even remember which game that was. But I remember
one or two, like tops.
Yeah.
Like maximum two.
There has to be a stat somewhere for that one, but yeah.
I wonder if there is. Roughing the passer, penalties, 25.
The blob. Yeah. I think Jacob says the Miami game. I'm pretty sure it was that one.
Okay, so I can. There's a website called NFLpenalties.com.
Okay.
So I can figure out how many penalties they have in that regard. The answer is 2.
All right.
All right. The Lions, Jalen Hurts has had 0, which like that doesn't surprise me. He like barely passes the ball deep anyways. Goff 0, which he very rarely gets hit in general. Drake May 0, that surprises me.
Huh.
And then there's a bunch of teams with 1. Who do you think has the most roughing the passer penalties enforced?
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Is it a veteran quarterback?
It is a veteran quarterback.
It's not Rodgers, is it?
No, he's at 0 because again, he throws the football in like 2.5 seconds.
Who's a veteran quarterback? See who's Mahomes. I don't know. Who is it?
Dak Prescott.
Oh,
7 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. 7 times.
Baker Mayfield second with 6, by the way. So yeah, 2 in 9 games. When as often as Herbert is getting hit, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. I know. The guys with 0. Hurts, good line. Goff, good line. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Ian Rivers has been a fan for almost 20 years, made the trip out for the game and couldn't be happier with my first game in SoFi.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a good first trip out. You get a blowout win, prime time. SoFi at night, by the way.
Crazy.
It's dude, it's absolutely gorgeous. Like all of the light shows. They did it was obviously Veterans Day is today. Shout out to all the veterans. Should have mentioned that earlier. They had a World War II vet out, and the whole crowd starts chanting USA, and the dude was just like, he was pumped up. He threw his hat in excitement. He forgot about it later. The environment was great. The light shows, everything they do is incredible. It's always incredible, right? But at night, everything just pops. Like when they play the anthem and they turn all the lights red, super, super pretty, super cool. So if you haven't been to SoFi Stadium at night, definitely encourage that. But Ian Rivers and I were treated to a fun one for sure.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. It's gorgeous. The first time I think I went to a night game there was Monday Night Football against the Raiders, where lightning struck the Oculus and turned off the power in the game. But it's gorgeous at night. I tell people that they ask me like, "Hey, I'm going to my first game ever, and it's a primetime game." I tell them to get there an extra half an hour early because you just want to like soak all of that in. It's gorgeous. Going during the day, lovely. At night, oh my gosh, like it is unbelievable. And like you said, with the veterans, anytime they have a salute to service thing or a flyover or whatever it ends up being, it is when the whole stadium is together on something in that stadium, whether it's that or that one time they booed Jerry Tillery for hitting Herbert late. It just feels amazing. So SoFi at night is a true wonder of the world to me.
Yeah. So Chargers are 4-0 in primetime games, by the way. Obviously not all of them at home, but they have one more and potentially another one. So we'll see if they can continue that magic. But yeah, great first game for Ian. Awesome first time at night for us. So it was a fun one. Bolt Guy 918 says, "Is it a good sign that Slater is walking already?" So he would have had the surgery at this point 3 months ago,
something like that. Yeah, sounds about right.
so he should be walking at this point. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I did have this exact same injury. It takes you about 2 months probably to walk on your own without a brace and like be comfortable with it. Sometimes after like the first 6 weeks, one day might be good. Next day you're like, I need my brace. So he's right on track with walking and things like that. He's probably started to like do some minor strength training on it and things like that. So he's on track. I know just from hearing about who he is that he is going to attack this therapeutic process or this rehab process with everything he has. It's probably killing him that he's not out there for this team, especially with Herbert getting hit as much. But it's a good sign. It means that there has not been a setback by any means, but he's on track with what I know about that injury.
Yeah, which is good to hear.
Next one here. Fartman 420 says, "My son Fartboy 69 loves you guys. Bolt up." We appreciate that from the Fart family.
69, dude. You guys know what that's from? Let me know.
Yes. Dude, the amount of times I heard the stupid 6-7 shit at Disneyland this week. Oh my gosh, it drove me crazy. The new Tiana's ride has the last spot in each of the logs that they do, they have it's called row 6-7. It's not just row 6 and then row 7 because it's like a double seater for if you have like a little kid. Oh my gosh, dude. We're sitting there in line and every single time the guy's like, "Okay, take row 6-7," and then all the little kids go crazy. It was insane. Sorry to tangent there, but yeah.
No, it's totally fine. Those poor employees, I hope they're compensated well for their time. I cannot. I would ask for reassignment to literally anything else than to sit there and hear 6-7 every day. And the most annoying thing is that the old fart media members are so far behind that like now they're kind of making jokes about it in the middle of the broadcast or on their recaps or whatever. And I just want to die because it's a year old at this point.
Yeah, Ross Tucker did that against the Titans. Jonathan Vilma apparently this week made like 8 jokes about it. So, yeah, maybe the kids will. They're not watching these guys to make those jokes, but I'm sure it will tire her out eventually. All right, last one here from Dre says that he remembers Brett Coleman saying Nico had the lowest passer rating allowed of every corner in his draft class. Oregon legend.
Didn't Darian Porter have like a 1.8 passer rating allowed? So I mean, I don't doubt Brett Coleman. That must be a heck of a low passer rating.
Yeah, Porter's was low. I know Nico Reed's was low, but yeah, I don't know. But Nico Reed was
good now.
Yeah. Probably should have been drafted, but it's okay. The Chargers will gladly accept. All right. That is it for the super chats today. Ooh. Appreciate you guys jumping in here. 18 super chats on the night, which is awesome. And obviously we did not record on Sunday night. So, we are grateful that so many of you guys tuned in, sent in the super chats. We honestly, sincerely appreciate it. So normal schedule again, going forward. We'll have our Thursday preview and then Sunday afternoon after the Chargers. This is our last 10 a.m. kick. I'm so over the 10 a.m. kicks. Like it's just been so many 10 a.m. kicks. You love them? I can't stand them. Is the Dallas game a 10 a.m. kick?
Okay, so I'll let you know. The Chiefs game and the Cowboys game is a 10 a.m. kick. And then technically Houston Denver is TBD.
Okay, fine. I hate the 10 a.m. kicks. I feel like I'm like awake and then boom, like football. I hate it. Luckily it's not 9 a.m. like college football stuff does, but it's okay. So anyways, normal schedule this week. We'll be live right after the game on Sunday and then bye week next week, which is crazy because I feel like they have been going nonstop. They have been going nonstop. So we'll be back to our normal schedule going forward. As of now, not planning to go to any games, but we'll see. Maybe the Chargers host a playoff game. I might change my mind. So we'll see what happens there. Tyler, any final thoughts before we head out?
If you are still listening / watching, my Aunt Leslie and Uncle John have been watching every episode. I feel like on my dad's side, my dad's sister and my dad's brother-in-law. John Schwartz is the drummer for Weird Al. Just throwing that out there for anybody.
Nice.
So yeah, I got a little celebrity watching potentially, but love you guys if you're watching or listening. Hope you found the live stream tab, not the videos, because no, I am not Alex.
Yeah, Alex was yesterday. We are Tuesday.
Yes.
All right, guys. Appreciate the heck out of you. We'll be back on Thursday with our preview, like I mentioned, inching closer and closer to 10 million views, by the way. So if you have secondary accounts or have a friend, give us a shout out real quick. We would appreciate that. Hoping to get to 10 million views very quickly here. All right, guys. Appreciate you. We'll see you on Thursday. As always, bolt up.